Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. When 19-year-old Feyre kills a wolf in the woods for food, she doesn't realize that she accidentally killed a fairy in disguise. Later that night, a beast-like creature forces Feyre to go to his kingdom beyond the wall to pay for her crime. Feyre is living in a magical land she knows nothing about, with no means to communicate with her family, and living with immortal fairies who she thinks are dangerous. Feyre has hostile feelings for her captor, Tamlin, but she soon discovers that everything she thought she knew about the world of fairy is actually incorrect, and she even starts to develop feelings for Tamlin. Tamlin tells Feyre that there is a magical curse on his land, and Feyre is the only one who can help restore balance to his kingdom. Okay, you guys, this is probably one of the best young adult novels I've read in a good little while. I was pleasantly surprised with this book. So good, in my opinion. Let's see, for starters, it's important to note that this book is a sort of Beauty and the Beast retelling, if you couldn't kind of tell from the synopsis. Of course, this is not a literal adaptation of Beauty and the Beast as we know it, but as you read, you can definitely pick up on the influences here and there. And I really think Sarah J. Maas did a fantastic job kind of reinterpreting the Beauty and the Beast story and just doing some very unique things with it, and also putting it in this fantasy realm setting, which also made it even more interesting, I think. So I'll just go through some of the things I liked and disliked about this novel, I guess starting with the characters. We have the leading protagonist, leading heroine. Her name is Feyre. She was such a great heroine to explore this story with. Obviously, she is the beauty of the story. I really liked that Feyre was a complex character. She definitely has her flaws and her weaknesses, which is very important, I think. I prefer characters like that. I don't prefer characters who are all good and all bad. I like when all characters have some sort of middle zone to explore. And then we also have Tamlin, who is the beast of the story, and he was definitely a very interesting character. A character I can't really talk about too much because it kind of gets into spoiler territory, but Tamlin, he is the ruler of this particular fairy kingdom, and yeah, there's a magical curse on the land, which he needs Feyre's help to do away with. And yeah, Tamlin has his own great backstory, a lot of tragedy to his backstory. So yeah, Feyre and Tamlin combined, I really loved the two of them together. I think they definitely worked well together. They definitely had some great sexual tension. I think more than anything, even though I did love the main protagonists of this story, I think I actually really loved a lot of the secondary characters more than anything. I really loved Lucian, who is like second in command to Tamlin. And then we have Amarantha, who is the villain of the story. We don't get a lot of her, but I think she was definitely a really interesting villain, and she worked for me. And then we're also introduced to another character who actually doesn't really appear until kind of about the midway point of the book. His name is Rhysand. He is also a fairy. He's part of like the Night Court, I believe is what it's called. And yeah, can't talk about him too much either because of spoilers. And then we also have Feyre's sisters and her father. Not sure how I kind of feel about them. We didn't get much with them. We didn't have a lot of time spent with them, but I think for the most part I did like them. They were fine. So just talking more about the structure and format of this book, I think it had really good pacing. I was never bored. Nothing ever felt dull or dry. I think it moved along at a fairly nice pace. I think my primary concern with this book is the lack of extensive world building. There is world building, but not as extensive as I was hoping. You know, considering that this is a fantasy world, yeah, the development of this whole world should be a big primary concern for any author, and I do definitely feel like that was kind of lacking a bit. Yeah, this wasn't like extensive, detailed world building like J.R.R. Tolkien or George R.R. Martin, for instance. But again, this is a young adult fantasy book, and whenever I have read young adult fantasy books, they all tend to suffer from this problem anyway, because that's when you kind of lose your audience a bit if you sit and develop your world building too much and it starts to get a little boring. So yeah, the world building in this book, it's primarily done when it's convenient to talk about it, if that makes sense. It's only done when it needs to be talked about and when it's essential to the plot. Because in my edition of the book, there is a map of the world, and you do get an idea that the world is a very huge world, and we're kind of only in this very small chunk of the world throughout the book. So I'm hoping as the series progresses, we will get deeper and deeper into the world building. And finally, you guys, a graphic young adult novel. What do I mean by that? There's some really great material in this book, which I personally appreciated. The more graphic a book is, the better. So yeah, what do I mean by graphicness? We have rough language, we get some sex scenes, we get some nudity, we get some blood and gore. Let's put it this way, Feyre is a 19-year-old protagonist. In a lot of young adult novels, the protagonists sometimes tend to be about 14, 15, 16 years old. So yeah, I appreciated that Sarah J. Maas made the protagonist a 19-year-old, made her, you know, this allowed her to have more disturbing thoughts, and also allowed her to speak more frankly, I think. But do not get me wrong, the graphic nature presented in this book, it's not all wild and crazy and super heavy duty, you know, it's not A Song of Ice and Fire by any means, but still, compared to every other young adult book I have ever read, this book is a step in the right direction. So before you pick up this book, make sure you are a mature reader. And then the last thing I wanted to discuss, it's kind of a bit of a shame that this is not a standalone book. I think this book very much could have been a standalone book. You know, Sarah J. Maas just maybe would have had to have made it a bit longer. But yeah, it is definitely being stretched out into what looks like a trilogy. There was no love triangle in this book, but I'm definitely anticipating that a love triangle is going to pop up in the next book for sure, which is either going to be a good thing or a bad thing. So yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, was pleasantly surprised. I liked Sarah J. Maas's unique take on Beauty and the Beast and how she interweaved it throughout the story. Really loved the characters. And like I kind of said a bit ago, I just really appreciated how mature this book was. I really hate when young adult is sugar-coated. I hate when books are sugar-coated more than anything. So yeah, really appreciated that this book went to deeper, darker levels. And the romance was steamy, you guys, which I also appreciated. So yeah, in the comments below, have you guys read this book and what did you think? Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you liked this book review, you may like these other book reviews. Bye guys.